The toast burned while Jessica scrolled through her phone. I could smell it from the hallway, that acrid, bitter smell that meant she'd forgotten about breakfast again. When I walked into the kitchen, she didn't look up. "Morning," I said. She made a sound, not quite a word, just acknowledgement that I'd spoken. I poured coffee and watched her thumb move across the screen. Her nails were freshly done, some shade between coral and pink that probably had a name like Sunset Dreams or Island Escape. She'd gone to the salon yesterday, Wednesday afternoon, when most people were working. "You want me to make new toast?" I asked. "I'm not hungry." Still not looking up. The burned bread sat in the toaster, smoking faintly. I popped it out and opened the window over the sink. Cold air rushed in. It was early April and the morning still had teeth. Jessica finally set her phone down, screen side down on the granite counter. The movement was deliberate, protective. "We have that thing tonight," she said. "What thing?" She sighed, the kind of sigh that said she'd already told me this, even though she hadn't. "The Miller Foundation dinner. I told you last week." "You didn't." "I did, Tom. You just don't listen." She picked up her coffee mug, saw it was empty, and set it back down without refilling it. 7 o'clock. Try to wear the navy suit, the one that actually fits. The navy suit fits fine. It makes you look—" She gestured vaguely at me. "Just wear it. And maybe do something with your hair." My hair was fine. Cut 3 weeks ago, still presentable. But I didn't argue. You learn not to argue about small things when you're married to someone like Jessica. You save your ammunition. She checked her phone again. This time a small smile crossed her face. Quick, private, gone before I could really see it. "Work chat?" I asked. The smile vanished. "Yes, you wouldn't understand. Try me. It's about the Reynolds account. Internal stuff." She stood, smoothing her skirt. "I need to go." "It's 7:15. "I have an early meeting." No, she didn't. I knew her calendar better than she thought I did. Tuesdays and Thursdays were her early days. Fridays she usually rolled in around 9:30, sometimes 10. But I nodded. "Drive safe." She grabbed her bag and her phone and walked out without kissing me goodbye. I heard her heels on the hardwood, then the front door, then her car starting in the driveway. I stood at the kitchen window and watched her back out. She was texting before she even reached the street. I dumped the burned toast in the trash and made myself eggs. The thing about betrayal is that you feel it before you can prove it. It's in the small changes. The way someone holds their phone, the new password on their laptop, the sudden interest in going to the gym, the nights they come home smelling like cologne that isn't theirs. Jessica had been different for months, since Christmas, maybe earlier. She'd started doing her makeup differently, contouring, she called it. Started buying clothes that were a little tighter, a little more expensive. Started going out more with the girls from work. I'm a civil engineer. I spend my days looking at blueprints and load calculations and stress tests. I'm good at seeing patterns, good at noticing when something doesn't add up, and my marriage had stopped adding up. I finished my eggs and cleaned up the kitchen. Then I went upstairs to get dressed for work. On the way past the bedroom, I saw Jessica's iPad sitting on the nightstand. She'd forgotten it in her rush to leave. I picked it up. The screen lit up when I tilted it. She hadn't logged out of her messages. I should have put it down, should have walked away. But I didn't. I opened the messaging app and scrolled. Most of it was exactly what you'd expect. Group chats with her friends, gossip about people I didn't know, complaints about work. Then I found a thread that made my stomach drop. The contact name was just a letter. D. The messages went back months. Can't wait to see you tonight. He's working late again. Probably won't even notice I'm gone. God, I'm so tired of pretending. I scrolled up. Further back. The messages got more explicit. Details I don't need to repeat. Plans they'd made. Hotels they'd visited. Things she'd said about me. I swear he has no idea. It's almost sad. Just a few more months, then I'm done. I took screenshots, sent them to myself, deleted the sent messages from her iPad, put everything back exactly where I'd found it. Then I went to work, drove my boring sedan to my boring job, and spent the next 8 hours pretending everything was fine while my brain cataloged every lie she'd ever told me. That night, we went to the Miller Foundation dinner. The venue was downtown in one of those renovated warehouses that used to make steel or textiles or something useful, and now hosted charity galas and wedding receptions. Exposed brick walls, industrial lighting, carefully distressed wooden beams that probably cost more than my first car. Jessica was radiant. That's the word people would have used. She wore a black dress that hugged every curve, and she worked the room like a politician's wife. Smiling, laughing, touching people's arms when she talked to them. She introduced me to her colleagues. "This is my husband, Tom. He's an engineer." And then smoothly pivoted the conversation to her own work before I could say anything interesting. Not that anyone was interested, these were her people. Marketing executives and PR directors and social media strategists. People who made their living selling ideas that didn't exist yet. They looked at me the way you'd look at a particularly boring piece of furniture. Necessary, maybe useful, but not worth discussing. I got drinks. Jessica drank white wine and I nursed a beer. We stood in a loose circle with some of her co-workers and I listened to them talk about campaigns and metrics and brand awareness. Then he arrived. I didn't know his name yet, but I knew him immediately. He was younger than me, early 30s maybe, tall, good suit, the kind of confident smile that comes from never being told no. He walked straight to Jessica and put his hand on the small of her back, too familiar, too comfortable, and leaned in to whisper something in her ear. She laughed. A real laugh, not the polite one she used with me. "Tom," she said, "this is Derek Phillips. He works in business development at Kellerman and Associates." "Tom." He stuck out his hand. His grip was firm, deliberately firm. "Good to finally meet you. Jess talks about you all the time." Jess, not Jessica. "All good things, I hope," I said. "Of course." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "She says you're very stable." Stable. Like a piece of furniture, like a safe investment. Like something you keep in the background while you do more interesting things. "I try," I said. Jessica touched Derek's arm. "We should go say hello to the Millers. They're over by the bar." "Lead the way." They walked off together. Derek's hand found her back again. She leaned into him, just slightly. Just enough. I stood there holding my beer and watching them disappear into the crowd. A woman I didn't know materialized next to me. Mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. "That your wife?" she asked. "Yeah." "Huh." She sipped her drink. "Interesting." "What's interesting?" She looked at me for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "Nothing. Forget I said anything." But she'd already said enough. I found Jessica 20 minutes later standing near the silent auction tables. Derek was with her, of course. They were looking at something on her phone, heads bent close together. "Hey," I said. Jessica jumped. Actually jumped. Then she locked her phone and slipped it into her purse. "Jesus, Tom, you scared me." "Sorry. I was just thinking we should probably head out soon. I've got an early meeting tomorrow." "We just got here. We've been here for an hour and a half." "Well, I'm not ready to leave. You can go if you want." She turned back to Derek. "Where were we?" "The Morrison proposal," Derek said. He was looking at me now, and there was something in his expression. Amusement, maybe, or contempt. "It's kind of technical, probably bore you." "I'm an engineer," I said. "I like technical. This is more strategy stuff, business side. I can handle it." Jessica put her hand on my arm, her nails dug in just slightly. "Tom, please, I'll be home in an hour." "An hour." "Yes, go. I'll get a ride." "With who?" "I don't know. An Uber. One of the girls. Does it matter?" It did matter. It mattered a lot. But I was standing in a room full of her colleagues and her father's business associates, and making a scene would only hurt me. "Fine. I said. 1 hour. I left, walked to my car in the parking garage, sat behind the wheel for a minute, breathing. Then I drove home and poured myself a real drink and waited. She came home at 2 in the morning. I was still awake, sitting in the living room with the lights off. I heard her car in the driveway, heard her heels on the front walk, heard her trying to be quiet as she opened the door. The living room light clicked on. Jesus! She clutched her chest. You scared me. What are you doing sitting in the dark? Waiting for you. You said an hour. I lost track of time. We went for drinks after. A bunch of us. A bunch of you. Yes. Why are you interrogating me? I stood up, walked closer. She smelled like cigarettes and cologne. Derek's cologne, probably. That woody, expensive scent that was definitely not mine. Who'd you get a ride with? I asked. Sarah drove me. Sarah. Yes, Sarah. From accounting. God, what is your problem? My problem was that she was lying. My problem was that she thought I was stupid enough to believe her. My problem was that I'd seen the messages on her iPad, and I knew exactly what kind of drinks she'd been having. But I didn't say any of that. No problem, I said. I'm going to bed. I walked past her, and she grabbed my arm. Tom, are you mad at me? I looked at her hand on my arm, looked at her face. She was good at this. The concerned wife act, the innocent confusion. If I hadn't seen the messages, I might have believed her. No, I said. I'm just tired. I pulled away and went upstairs. She followed a few minutes later. I pretended to be asleep. She got undressed in the bathroom, and when she climbed into bed, she smelled like someone else's soap. I lay there in the dark, listening to her breathing, even out as she fell asleep. And I started planning. The next morning, Saturday, I woke up early. Jessica was still asleep, sprawled across her side of the bed with her hair fanned across the pillow. She looked peaceful, innocent. I went downstairs and made coffee. Then I opened my laptop and started going through our finances. We had a joint checking account, joint savings. The house was in both our names. We'd bought it 6 years ago, right after we got married. We'd put down 40%, mostly from money Jessica's father had given us as a wedding gift. The rest was mortgage. I opened our bank statements, started looking at the charges from the last 6 months, hotels, restaurants I'd never been to, charges to boutiques and salons, cash withdrawals, lots of them, hundreds of dollars at a time, always on evenings when she said she was working late. I made a spreadsheet, documented everything, dates, amounts, locations. Then I went looking for the other accounts. It took me an hour, but I found them. She'd opened a separate checking account in her name only, a savings account at a different bank. She'd been moving money there for months. Not huge amounts, 500 here, 1,000 there, small enough that I wouldn't notice the dip in our joint accounts. But it added up. She had almost $40,000 squirreled away, divorce money, escape money. I took screenshots of everything. Around 9, Jessica came downstairs. She was wearing one of my old t-shirts and pajama pants, and she looked soft and sleepy. She poured herself coffee and sat down across from me at the kitchen table. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Work stuff, budget projections." "On a Saturday?" "Big project coming up. Just want to be prepared." She yawned. "You want to do something today? We could go to that new brunch place." "Sure, that sounds nice." We went to brunch. We sat across from each other in a trendy restaurant with reclaimed wood tables and overpriced avocado toast. We made small talk. She told me about some drama at work. Someone had been passed over for a promotion and everyone was gossiping about it. I nodded and made appropriate, sympathetic noises. She checked her phone 6 times during the meal. When we got home, she said she needed to run some errands. She left around 2 and didn't come back until almost 7. "Where'd you go?" I asked. "Just the mall. Picked up some stuff." She was holding one small bag from Sephora. 6 hours at the mall, one small bag. "Find anything good?" "Just makeup, nothing exciting." She set the bag down and headed upstairs. "I'm going to take a shower." While the water ran, I checked her phone. She'd left it on the kitchen counter, plugged into the charger. I knew her passcode. She'd given it to me years ago, back when we still trusted each other. She'd probably forgotten she'd given it to me. Or maybe she just assumed I'd never use it. I opened her messages. D. Miss you already? Jessica. Miss you too. He's being weird. D. Weird how? Jessica. Clingy, suspicious. I think he's starting to figure it out. D. So what? You're leaving him anyway. Jessica. I know, just have to wait until we sign the papers. D. When is that? Jessica. Next week. Dad set it up. Once the house is transferred, I'm filing. I took screenshots, sent them to my personal email, deleted the sent messages. Then I put her phone back exactly where I'd found it. The water shut off upstairs. I heard her moving around in the bathroom. I went to the living room and turned on the TV. Sat down on the couch like everything was normal, like my world wasn't disintegrating around me. While you're here, hit the hype button. Don't forget to subscribe and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? Monday morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years. My boss sounded suspicious, but he didn't push. Jessica left for the office at 8. I waited until her car disappeared down the street, then I went to our home office and opened the filing cabinet. I found the folder marked Estate Planning. Jessica's father, Richard Blackwell, was senior counsel at Hammond, Price and Blackwell, his name on the door, his clients in the portfolio, his reputation keeping the whole thing afloat. He'd been in law for 40 years, and he knew every trick, every loophole, every way to protect assets and shift liability. He'd never liked me. Oh, he'd been polite enough at the wedding, made a nice speech about welcoming me to the family. But I'd seen the look in his eyes when Jessica first brought me home. The disappointment, the resignation, like she'd shown up with a stray dog she wanted to keep, and he had to pretend to be happy about it. I was never good enough for his daughter, not rich enough, not connected enough, not ambitious enough, just a civil engineer with a state school degree and a steady paycheck. Stable, safe, boring. The folder was thick. Documents going back years. Our will, beneficiary designations, insurance policies, and newer stuff, papers dated from last month. Asset Protection Trust Agreement. Real Property Transfer Deed. Post-nuptial financial arrangement. I spread them across the desk and started reading. The trust was supposed to protect the house. According to the documents, we'd be transferring the property into a family trust that would shield it from creditors and lawsuits. Richard had explained this to me once, months ago, in his office. He'd used phrases like asset protection and estate planning and tax efficiency. He'd made it sound sensible, responsible. The transfer deed would put the house in Jessica's name only. Temporarily, Richard had said, just for the trust structure to work properly. And the post-nuptial agreement, I'd barely glanced at it when Richard first showed it to me. It was dense, full of legal language, and he'd waved it off as standard procedure. Just paperwork, Tom. We're protecting both of you. Now I read it carefully. It was a trap. Every single word was a trap. The post-nuptial agreement waived my rights to marital property in the event of separation or divorce initiated by either party. It specified that Jessica would retain sole ownership of the house, the savings accounts, and her stake in her father's firm. I'd get nothing. Not the house we'd lived in for 6 years. Not the furniture we'd bought together. Not even my own tools in the garage. And if I signed the property transfer deed, I'd be handing her the house on a silver platter, making it clean and easy. They'd planned this, Richard and Jessica. Probably Derek, too. They'd been planning it for months. I took photos of every page. Then I kept reading. There was an addendum, dated 3 weeks ago. This one specifically mentioned spousal support obligations and asset distribution schedules. More legal jargon, but the gist was clear. If we divorced, I'd owe her money, monthly payments, indefinitely. I was being set up to lose everything while paying her for the privilege. I put the papers back in the folder, put the folder back in the filing cabinet, closed the drawer, and sat there staring at the wall. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. Don't forget we have the signing at Dad's office on Wednesday, 2 p.m. I texted back, I remember. She sent a heart emoji, cheerful, loving, casual betrayal wrapped in a pink digital heart. I needed help. I spent the rest of Monday making calls. I found a lawyer, not someone Richard knew, not someone in his network, a guy named Paul Hernandez who worked out of a small office near the courthouse. He had good reviews online, a reputation for being thorough, and no connection to Hammond, Price, and Blackwell. I made an appointment for Tuesday morning. That evening, Jessica came home late. Again. She walked in around 8 carrying takeout. I grabbed Thai food, she said. Thought you might be hungry. Thanks. We ate at the kitchen table. She talked about her day, some client meeting that went well, some gossip about a coworker. I made appropriate noises and watched her face. She was good. So good. If I didn't know better, I'd think she was just a normal wife having a normal conversation. So Wednesday, she said. The signing. Yeah. It'll be quick. Just signing some papers. Dad will explain everything. I'm sure he will. She looked at me. You're being weird again. Am I? Yes. You've been weird all week. Is something wrong? I could have done it then. Could have confronted her. Thrown the phone screenshots in her face. Told her I knew about Derek, about the secret bank accounts, about everything. But I didn't. Just work stress, I said. Big project deadline coming up. She relaxed. Well, don't bring it home. I've got enough stress at my job without dealing with yours too. Right. Sorry. After dinner, she went upstairs to catch up on emails. I cleaned up the kitchen and thought about Wednesday. They expected me to show up, sign the papers, and hand over everything without a fight. And I was going to let them think that right up until the moment I didn't. Tuesday morning, I met Paul Hernandez in his office. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with steel-rimmed glasses and a wrinkled dress shirt. His office was small but organized. Shelves full of law books, a desk covered in neat stacks of folders, a window overlooking the parking lot. I gave him everything. The screenshots from Jessica's iPad and phone, the bank statements showing the hidden accounts, the photos of the estate planning documents, the text messages about the signing. He read through it all without speaking. Occasionally, he'd make a note on a legal pad, but mostly he just read. Finally, he looked up. This is bad, he said. I know. No, I mean it's really bad. They're trying to screw you 6 ways from Sunday. He tapped the photos of the post-nuptial agreement. If you sign this, you're done. You'll have no claim to marital assets, and depending on how the judge interprets this clause here, he pointed to a paragraph buried in the middle of page 4, you might end up owing her spousal support, even though she's the one cheating. Adultery matters, but not as much as you'd think. Pennsylvania's a no-fault state. The courts care more about financial arrangements than moral failings. He leaned back in his chair. The good news is, you haven't signed anything yet. The bad news is, they're planning to ambush you tomorrow. So what do I do? You don't sign. Simple as that. Richard will push. He's persuasive. I don't care. You tell him you want your own lawyer to review everything first. You tell him you're not comfortable signing without independent counsel. And if he pushes harder, you walk out. And then? Paul smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then we go on offense. He spent the next hour outlining strategy. We'd document everything, every affair, every hidden account, every lie. We'd use Jessica's own messages against her. We'd prove she was planning to defraud me, that she and her father were conspiring to strip me of marital assets. Pennsylvania law recognizes something called dissipation of marital assets, Paul explained. If we can show she was hiding money and planning to leave you while pretending everything was fine, the court will factor that into the division of property. She won't walk away with everything. Not even close. What about the house? The house is marital property. Doesn't matter whose name it's in. You both have a claim. He paused. But there's something else you need to know. What? These estate planning documents. They reference an earlier agreement. Something from 2009. Did you sign anything back then? I thought back. 2009 was a year before we got married. We'd been dating seriously, talking about the future. And yes, there'd been paperwork. Jessica's father had insisted on it. Something about protecting her inheritance, making sure everything was handled properly if we got married. I think so, I said. I don't really remember the details. We need to find that document. It might change everything. How? Because if there's a prior agreement that contradicts what they're trying to make you sign now, we can use that. Show a pattern of coercion or fraud. He made another note. Any idea where that paperwork might be? Probably in the filing cabinet at home, or maybe at Richard's office. Check at home first. If you find it, make copies and bring them to me. Don't let Jessica or her father know you're looking. I left Paul's office feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Control. That afternoon, while Jessica was at work, I went back to the filing cabinet. I found the folder marked pre-marriage documents. Inside was a thin sheaf of papers. The first page was labeled Voluntary Property Agreement, 2009. I skimmed it. Legal boilerplate, definitions, clauses about assets and debts. Then I got to page 3, section 4.2, Waiver of Prenuptial Rights. I read it twice, then 3 times. In 2009, Jessica had signed a waiver. She'd voluntarily given up certain rights to assets I'd acquired before our marriage. The agreement specified that in the event of divorce, she couldn't claim my pre-marriage savings, my car, or the small condo I'd owned back then. At the time, it hadn't seemed important. I'd sold the condo before we got married, used the proceeds for the down payment on the house we bought together. My pre-marriage savings had been modest, maybe 15 grand. The waiver felt like a formality, something Richard had insisted on to keep things clean. But now I saw what it really was. It was leverage. Because if Jessica had waived her rights to my pre-marriage assets in 2009, and we'd used those assets to buy the house, then she'd already given up her claim to a significant portion of the house's value. And if Richard was trying to make me sign a post-nuptial agreement that contradicted the 2009 waiver, that might be fraud. I took photos of every page, sent them to Paul. Then I put the folder back. My phone rang. Paul. You found it? He asked. Yeah, just sent you the photos. Hang on. I heard clicking, the sound of him opening the email. Then silence. Then a low whistle. Oh, this is good. This is very good. What am I looking at? You're looking at a signed, notarized waiver from 2009, where your wife voluntarily gave up her claim to your pre-marriage assets, and unless I'm reading this wrong, those assets were used as part of the down payment on your current house. So that means she already relinquished a significant portion of her claim to the marital home. And if Daddy Blackwell is trying to make you sign a new agreement that contradicts this, he's either incompetent or he's committing fraud. Maybe both. Paul's voice was warm with satisfaction. Tom, this changes everything. Bring me the originals tomorrow morning before you go to the signing. We need to have this documented properly. What do I do at the signing? You go. You act normal. And when Richard puts those papers in front of you, you tell him you need time to review. Then you leave. Don't argue, don't explain, just leave. And if he pushes? Let him push. We want him on record being aggressive. The more he pressures you, the better it looks for us later. That night, Jessica came home early. 6 o'clock, not 8 or 9. She was smiling. I made reservations at Gino's, she said. 7:30. I thought we could have a nice dinner before the craziness of the rest of the week. Gino's was expensive, the kind of place you went for anniversaries and special occasions. What's the occasion? I asked. No occasion, just felt like it. She kissed my cheek. Go change. Wear something nice. She was in a good mood all through dinner, laughing, touching my hand across the table, telling stories about work. She ordered a bottle of wine, expensive, red, something Italian with a name I couldn't pronounce. She drank most of it. Halfway through the meal, she reached across and took my hand. I know I've been stressed lately, she said, with work and everything. I haven't been the best wife. It's okay. No, it's not. You're a good man, Tom. You deserve better. Her eyes were bright, a little glassy from the wine. I'm going to be better, I promise. She was playing me, softening me up before the signing, making sure I'd be pliable and trusting when Richard pushed the papers across his desk. I squeezed her hand. I love you. I love you too. Lies. Every word she said was a lie. She was enthusiastic, almost desperate, like she was trying to prove something. Afterward, she fell asleep with her head on my chest. I lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe, and thought about Derek. Thought about the messages on her phone. Thought about the signing tomorrow. I didn't sleep much that night. Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone ringing. Paul. We've got a problem, he said. I sat up, rubbed my eyes. What kind of problem? Richard filed an emergency motion yesterday afternoon. He's claiming you're dissipating marital assets, says you've been moving money around, hiding accounts. That's bullshit. I haven't touched anything. I know. But he's got a judge to sign a temporary restraining order. As of this morning, all your accounts are frozen. Joint accounts, personal accounts, everything. He can do that? If he convinces a judge you're trying to hide money, yeah, it's temporary. We'll fight it. But until we get a hearing, you can't access your own bank accounts. How am I supposed to pay bills? Very carefully. You can petition for an allowance for necessities, but it's going to be tight. I sat there on the edge of the bed, phone pressed to my ear, and felt the walls closing in. When's the hearing? I asked. Monday afternoon, 2:00, County Courthouse. I'll file a motion to dissolve the TRO, and we'll present evidence that you haven't touched the accounts. What do I need to bring? Nothing, just show up and let me do the talking. After I hung up, I checked my bank account online. Sure enough, there was a notice at the top of the screen. Account restricted pending court order. Richard was playing dirty, cutting off my access to money so I couldn't fight back. Classic lawyer move. I got dressed and went for a drive. No destination in mind, just needed to move. I ended up at a coffee shop near the university, a place Jessica had never been to, somewhere clean of our history. I ordered black coffee and sat by the window, watching students hurry past with backpacks and skateboards. Young, stupid, certain the world was full of possibilities. My phone buzzed, text from a number I didn't recognize. Hey Tom, it's Karen from the bar the other night. Hope it's okay I got your number from the directory. Coffee sometime? I stared at the message. Karen, the project manager. Normal conversation, no agenda, no drama. I texted back, sure, when? Now? I'm at Brew Point on 5th if you want to swing by. I looked around. I was at Brew Point, on 5th Street. I scanned the shop, found her sitting at a corner table with a laptop and a pile of papers. She waved. I walked over. Small world. Or small city. Sit. I'm just reviewing contractor bids. Boring stuff. I sat. Tell me about it. We talked for an hour. Work stuff, mostly. Then she asked carefully, how's the personal stuff you mentioned? Still complicated. Divorce? I blinked. How'd you know? Tom, I've been through one. I recognize the look. You're doing that thing where you're pretending everything's fine, but you're barely holding it together. I laughed. It came out bitter. That obvious? Only to someone who's been there. She closed her laptop. You want actual advice, or do you want me to shut up? Advice. Get mean. People think divorce is about being reasonable and fair. It's not. It's war. And if you don't fight back, you'll lose everything. I'm fighting back. Good. Then keep fighting. Don't let them bully you. Don't sign anything you don't understand. And for God's sake, don't feel guilty. Why would I feel guilty? Because you're a decent person. Decent people always feel guilty when they have to get nasty. But your wife, she paused. I assume it's your wife you're divorcing? Yeah. Your wife isn't feeling guilty. I guarantee it. So don't handicap yourself with ethics she doesn't have. We talked for another 20 minutes. When we said goodbye, she squeezed my shoulder. Hang in there, Tom. You're going to be fine. I wasn't sure I believed her, but it was nice to hear. Sunday was quiet. I spent the day cleaning the house, laundry, dishes, vacuuming, simple tasks that required no thought. I threw out everything that reminded me of Jessica, the magazines she never read, the decorative pillows she'd insisted on, the scented candles that smelled like vanilla and lies. I was vacuuming the living room when someone knocked on the front door. I turned off the vacuum, looked through the peephole. Richard. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. Tom, we need to talk. Your lawyer can talk to my lawyer. This is beyond lawyers, this is family. I'm not your family, not anymore. He sighed, looked older than he had a week ago, tired. Can I come in? I should have said no, should have closed the door in his face, but curiosity got the better of me. I stepped aside. He walked past me into the living room, looked around. You've been cleaning, he said. Place was a mess. He didn't sit, just stood there with his hands in his pockets, looking at the spot where our wedding photo used to hang. Jessica's not doing well, he said finally. That's not my problem. She's my daughter. She's not perfect, but she's mine, and I don't like seeing her hurt. Then you should have raised her better. His jaw tightened. I came here to offer you a deal. I don't want a deal. Hear me out. You drop the divorce petition. We renegotiate the post-nuptial agreement. You get a fair settlement, 50-50 split on everything. Clean break, no spousal support. You walk away whole. And in return? In return, you don't drag my daughter through the mud with these adultery allegations. You don't air our family's private business in court. Your daughter's adultery isn't private business. It's evidence. Evidence that will destroy her career, her reputation. She made a mistake, Tom. A big one. But does she deserve to be publicly humiliated for it? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the calculation behind the concern. He wasn't here because Jessica was hurting. He was here because the case was making his firm look bad. Making him look bad. Yes, I said. She does. You're being vindictive. I'm being honest. She cheated. She lied. She conspired with you to steal my house. Those are facts, and if the truth humiliates her, that's on her, not me. Tom, get out. If you don't take this deal, get out. He left. Didn't slam the door, didn't make threats, just walked out quietly, like a man who'd played his last card and lost. I finished vacuuming, finished cleaning. Then I sat down on the couch and stared at the wall until it got dark. Monday morning, I wore my best suit to the courthouse. Paul met me outside at 1:30. You ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. Remember, let me do the talking. Richard's going to try to provoke you. Don't take the bait. We went inside. The hearing was in a small courtroom on the 3rd floor. Judge Patricia Moreno presiding. She was 50-ish, stern-faced, with reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. Richard and his associate were already there. So was Jessica. She sat in the front row behind Richard's table, wearing a conservative dress and minimal makeup. Victim costume. She wouldn't look at me. The judge called the hearing to order. This is a motion to dissolve a temporary restraining order freezing the accounts of Thomas Brennan, she said. Mr. Blackwell, you filed the emergency TRO. Explain why. Richard stood. Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Brennan has been attempting to dissipate marital assets. He's opened accounts under his name only, transferred funds without Mrs. Brennan's knowledge, and liquidated investments. Do you have documentation? We do, Your Honor. Exhibits A through E, submitted with our motion. The judge flipped through papers. Frowned. These account statements are all pre-2024. The latest one is dated December 2024. Yes, Your Honor. The pattern of behavior shows nothing recent. Has Mr. Brennan moved any money since you filed for divorce? We believe he's preparing to. Belief isn't evidence, Mr. Blackwell. Mr. Hernandez, your response? Paul stood. Your Honor, Mr. Brennan hasn't touched any marital accounts since the divorce was filed. In fact, he hasn't touched them for 6 months. All the transactions Mr. Blackwell is complaining about are routine. Bill payments, payroll deposits, normal household expenses. There's no dissipation. And the accounts opened in Mr. Brennan's name only? Those are old accounts, Your Honor. Pre-marriage accounts that have been inactive for years. My client hasn't deposited or withdrawn anything from them. The judge looked at Richard. Is that true? Richard hesitated. The accounts exist, Your Honor. But they haven't been used. Not recently, but... Mr. Blackwell, I'm dissolving the TRO. If you have actual evidence of asset dissipation, file a proper motion with adequate documentation. Don't waste this court's time with emergency orders based on speculation. She banged her gavel. Mr. Brennan's accounts are unfrozen effective immediately. Richard sat down. Jessica leaned forward and whispered something to him. He shook his head. We left the courtroom. In the hallway, Jessica tried to approach me. Tom, please, can we just... Paul stepped between us. Mrs. Brennan, all communication goes through counsel. I just want to talk to him. That's not appropriate right now. She looked past Paul at me. Her eyes were red. Had she been crying? Or was that just more theater? I'm sorry, she said, for all of it. I know you don't believe me, but I am. I didn't respond, just turned and walked away. Outside, Paul clapped me on the shoulder. That went well. Richard looked pissed. Richard is pissed. He just got embarrassed in front of a judge. That TRO was a stupid move. Too aggressive, too early. Now he looks like he's playing games instead of presenting facts. What happens next? Discovery. We request documents. They request documents. We depose Jessica. They depose you. It's going to get messy. How messy? Every text, every email, every financial transaction for the last 5 years. They're going to dig into everything, and so are we. Good. Let them dig. Paul looked at me carefully. Tom, when they depose you, they're going to ask about affairs, other women, anything they can use to make you look bad. You got anything I need to know about? No, I've been faithful. Good. Keep it that way. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then curiosity won. Hello? Tom Brennan? A woman's voice, clipped, professional. Who's this? My name is Angela Reed. I'm a journalist with the Tribune. I'm working on a story about prominent local attorneys, and I'd like to ask you some questions about Richard Blackwell. No comment. Mr. Brennan, I understand you're in the middle of a contentious divorce from Mr. Blackwell's daughter. I'm not interested in your personal life. I'm interested in Mr. Blackwell's professional conduct. Have you observed any ethical violations or... I hung up. She called back immediately. I blocked the number. They were going to make this public. Richard had connections, influence, money. But I had the truth. And the truth was messier and more destructive than any PR campaign. I poured myself a drink and thought about tomorrow. Tuesday morning, I got to work early. Wanted to bury myself in blueprints and calculations, lose myself in numbers that actually added up. My boss caught me in the break room. Tom, you've got visitors. Conference room. Visitors? 2 men. They didn't say what it's about, but they're wearing suits and they're not smiling. My stomach dropped. I walked to the conference room. Through the glass walls, I could see 2 men sitting at the table. One was Richard's associate from the courthouse hearing. The other was someone I didn't recognize, older, severe, the kind of face you see in law firm brochures under the word Litigator. I opened the door. Can I help you? The older man stood, extended his hand. Thomas Brennan. I'm William Price, senior partner at Hammond, Price & Blackwell. This is James Riley. We'd like to speak with you about your pending divorce. I didn't shake his hand. You can speak to my lawyer. We'd prefer to speak with you directly. This is a courtesy call. Courtesy, right. You show up at my workplace without warning, and that's courtesy? Price smiled. No warmth in it. We're trying to resolve this matter without further escalation. Our client is willing to make a very generous offer. I'm not interested. You haven't heard the offer. Don't need to. We'll see you in court. I turned to leave. Riley spoke up. Mr. Brennan, you should know that we've hired a private investigator. They've already begun looking into your financial history, your employment record, your personal life. If there's anything you'd prefer not to become public. I spun back. Is that a threat? It's a reality. Discovery in a divorce case is extensive. Every aspect of your life will be examined. If you have nothing to hide, that's fine, but most people have something they'd rather keep private. Get out of my office. Mr. Brennan, now, or I call security. Price stood. You're making a mistake. That seems to be your favorite line. Now leave. They left. I stood in the conference room, hands shaking, and tried to calm down. My boss appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? Fine. Just lawyer stuff. Tom, if this divorce thing is going to start affecting your work. It won't, I promise. He didn't look convinced. Just keep me informed. I spent the rest of the day distracted, couldn't focus on the drawings in front of me, kept thinking about Price's words. Private investigator, every aspect of your life examined. Let them look. I'd been faithful, kept my finances clean, never broken any laws. They'd find nothing. But the threat was still there, the implication that they'd manufacture something if they had to. That evening, I met Paul at his office. They came to my workplace, I said. Price and Riley tried to intimidate me. Paul frowned. Did they make any explicit threats? They said they hired a private investigator, said they'd dig into every aspect of my life. That's standard, unethical to do it at your workplace, but standard for the process. He made a note. I'll file a complaint about them showing up at your job. That crosses a line. What about the PI? If they're smart, they'll keep it legal. Financial records, public documents. If they start harassing your friends or co-workers, let me know immediately. I sat down heavily. This is never going to end, is it? It'll end. But you're right that it's going to get worse before it gets better. Richard's pulling out all the stops. Because I wouldn't take his deal. Because you humiliated him in court. He's used to winning, used to controlling everything. You're not playing along, and that's eating him alive. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. We need to talk, please. It's important. I showed Paul. He shook his head. Don't respond. Anything you say can be used against you. Even if it's just texts? Especially if it's just texts. Screenshots are forever. I put my phone away. What's next? Depositions. I've scheduled Jessica's for next week. You should prepare to be deposed the week after. What do I need to do? Tell the truth. Stay calm. Don't let them provoke you. He paused. And Tom? They're going to ask about the night she slapped you, about Derek showing up at your house. They'll try to paint you as aggressive or violent. Don't give them ammunition. I didn't do anything wrong. I know. But the truth doesn't matter if they can twist it into something ugly. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Price's visit, about the private investigator pawing through my life, about Jessica's text. Around midnight, I got up and checked my email. One new message from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line: "You should see this." I almost deleted it. Probably spam or something Richard's people sent to rattle me. But I opened it. The email had no body text, just an attachment, a PDF. I downloaded it. It was a report from the private investigator, dated yesterday. Pages of surveillance photos, call logs, location tracking. But they weren't photos of me. They were photos of Derek. Derek at a bar, talking to a blonde woman I didn't recognize. Derek getting into a car with the same woman. Derek entering a condo building. Time stamps showed all of this happening last week, while he was supposedly devastated about losing Jessica. There was a note at the bottom of the report. Subject continues to engage in multiple concurrent relationships. No evidence of exclusive commitment to primary partner, Jay Brennan. I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to Paul with the message, "Someone sent me this. Don't know who. Thoughts?" He replied 5 minutes later, "Holy shit, this is gold. Don't tell Jessica. Let her think Derek's faithful. We'll use this later." I sat there staring at the photos. Derek with another woman. Maybe more than one. Jessica didn't know. She thought he was heartbroken, thought he was sitting at home pining for her. She had no idea he'd already moved on. Wednesday, I went to work, kept my head down, avoided the conference room. Around 11, I got a call from Paul. "Jessica's trying to move up her deposition, says she has critical information that needs to be on record immediately." What kind of information? She won't say, but my guess, she's panicking. Knows we have her messages, knows her lies are falling apart. She's going to try to get her version on record first. Can she do that? I can agree to move it up, but only if we get something in return. Like what? Like access to her personal financial records, the accounts she's been hiding. If she wants to depose early, she gives us full financial discovery first. Will she agree to that? Probably not, but we'll ask anyway. Thursday morning, Paul called me. She agreed. Full financial disclosure in exchange for an expedited deposition. We're scheduled for tomorrow at 9 a.m. That fast? She wants this over with, or she wants to control the narrative. Either way, we're getting access to her accounts today. I'm heading to Richard's office now to pick up the documents. You want me there? No, stay away. Let me handle it. I spent Thursday working, trying not to think about what Paul was finding in those financial records. He called me at 4. "Tom, you need to sit down." "What did you find?" "Jessica's been moving money for over a year, not to her secret accounts, to Derek." I sat down at my desk. "How much?" $47,000, multiple transfers, all disguised as business expenses or personal loans. She's been funding his lifestyle. Why? I don't know, but it's evidence of dissipation. She used marital funds to support her affair. That's going to hit her hard in court. What about the 2009 agreement? Did you find anything about that? Not yet, but I've got a list of documents Richard's office still hasn't produced, including some old trust paperwork from when you and Jessica first got serious. I'm filing a motion to compel. When's the deposition? Tomorrow, 9 a.m. at my office. You can watch from the other room if you want. I'll be there. Friday morning, I arrived at Paul's office at 8:30. He walked me through what would happen. Jessica, Richard, and their court reporter will be in the main conference room. You'll be in the side office with a live video feed. You can text me questions, but you can't come in. Understood? Understood. At 9, Jessica arrived. I watched through the video feed as she sat down across from Paul. She looked tired. Makeup couldn't quite hide the dark circles under her eyes. Richard sat next to her, stone-faced. Paul started with basic questions. Name, address, employment history. Jessica answered in a quiet voice. Then he got specific. "Mrs. Brennan, are you currently involved in a romantic relationship with anyone other than your husband?" Jessica glanced at Richard. He nodded slightly. "No, not anymore." "But you were, correct?" "Yes." "With Derek Phillips?" "Yes." "How long did that relationship last?" "About 6 months." "When did it end?" 2 weeks ago, after Tom filed for divorce. Who ended it? I did. Why? Because I wanted to save my marriage. Paul slid a paper across the table. This is a text message dated 4 days ago. From you to Mr. Phillips. It says, I miss you. Please call me. Does that sound like someone trying to save her marriage? Jessica's face went white. That was a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness. I see. Paul pulled out another document. Mrs. Brennan, are you aware that during your relationship with Mr. Phillips, you transferred $47,000 from joint marital accounts to his personal bank accounts? Those were loans. Loans. Did you discuss these loans with your husband? No. Did you have his permission to transfer marital funds to your lover? They were loans, she repeated, voice rising. Derek needed help with some expenses. What kind of expenses require $47,000? His car, rent, business costs? And did Mr. Phillips ever repay these loans? Jessica didn't answer. Mrs. Brennan, did Derek Phillips ever repay any of the $47,000 you gave him? Not yet, but he will. When? When he can afford it. Paul leaned back. Let me see if I understand. You took nearly $50,000 from accounts you shared with your husband. You gave that money to a man you were having an affair with. You never told your husband. And you expect this court to believe these were legitimate loans? Yes. Do you have any written loan agreements? No. Any emails or texts discussing repayment terms? No. Any evidence at all that these were loans rather than gifts? Derek promised to pay me back. Paul made a note. Let's move on. Mrs. Brennan, when did you first discuss divorcing your husband? I don't remember exactly. Was it before or after you met Derek Phillips? I don't know. Around the same time, maybe. So, you started an affair and started planning a divorce simultaneously. I didn't plan. Mrs. Brennan, we have text messages where you explicitly discuss leaving your husband. Messages where you call him boring, worthless, a safety net you're tired of carrying. Would you like me to read them into the record? Richard leaned forward. That's enough, Paul. You're harassing my client. I'm deposing your client, Richard. There's a difference. Paul continued for another hour. Every question was a scalpel, cutting through Jessica's story. Every answer dug her deeper. Finally, he put down his pen. One more thing, Mrs. Brennan. In 2009, did you sign a document labeled Voluntary Property Agreement? Jessica blinked. I don't remember. Let me refresh your memory. Paul slid a paper across the table. This document, dated March 2009, signed by you and witnessed by a notary. Do you recognize your signature? She stared at it. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. This document specifically waives your claim to your husband's premarital assets. Assets he used to help buy your current house. Did your father explain that to you when you signed it? Jessica looked at Richard. He was staring at the document like it was a live grenade. I don't remember, she said. Thank you, Mrs. Brennan. That's all for now. The deposition ended. Jessica and Richard left quickly, barely speaking to each other. Paul came into the side office where I'd been watching. That, he said, was a massacre. After the deposition, Paul and I sat in his office reviewing the transcript. She's lying, I said. About the loans, about the timeline, all of it. I know. And we proved it. Those text messages are time-stamped. The financial transfers are documented. She can't walk any of it back. What about the 2009 agreement? Paul tapped the document. This is the nuclear option. Richard's face when I showed it to him. He had no idea Jessica signed away her rights back then. Or he forgot. Either way, it's a massive problem for them. How does it help us? Because the waiver specifically mentions your premarital assets. You sold your condo and put that money, $60,000, into the down payment on your current house. $62,000. Right. Jessica waived her claim to that money, which means she waived her claim to a significant portion of the house's equity. And if Richard's been advising her to pursue the house in the divorce settlement, he's been giving her bad legal advice based on a document he should have caught. Can we use that? Absolutely. It's not quite malpractice, but it's damn close, and it means their entire settlement strategy is built on sand. My phone buzzed. Text from Karen. Hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Want to grab lunch? I texted back. Can't today. Rain check? Sure. Let me know when you're free. Paul noticed. Who's that? Just a friend, another engineer. Male or female? Female. Why? Because Richard's PI is probably watching you. If you're seen with another woman, they'll twist it into an affair. We're just friends. Doesn't matter. Perception is everything in a divorce. Be careful. I put my phone away. What happens now? Now we file a motion to compel Richard to produce all documents related to the 2009 agreement. Trust paperwork, estate planning files, anything that references it. If there's more evidence that Jessica was trying to circumvent her own prior waiver, we want it. How long will that take? A week, maybe 2. Depends on how fast Richard's office responds. He paused. Tom, you need to prepare yourself. This is about to get ugly. Really ugly. He wasn't wrong. Monday morning, I woke up to find my car keyed. Deep scratches down both sides, from headlight to taillight. Someone had also slashed 2 tires. I called the police. They sent a patrol officer who took photos and wrote a report. He was sympathetic but not optimistic. Without witnesses or camera footage, there's not much we can do, he said. Could have been random vandalism. Or it could have been my wife's boyfriend. The officer looked up. You're going through a divorce? Yeah. You should file for a restraining order. Protect yourself. I called Paul. He agreed. Restraining order against Derek Phillips. We'll file it this afternoon and get cameras installed at your house. Front door, driveway, backyard. If he comes back, we need evidence. I spent Monday morning getting estimates for security cameras. By evening, I had a system installed. 4 cameras, motion sensors, cloud storage. If anyone came near my house, I'd know about it. Tuesday, Paul filed the restraining order. It was approved by Wednesday. Derek couldn't come within 500 feet of me or my house. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Thursday evening, I was coming home from work when I noticed Derek's Audi parked across the street. 2 houses down, engine running. He was watching my house. I pulled into my driveway, grabbed my phone, and called 911. There's someone violating a restraining order outside my house. The dispatcher was calm, professional. What's your address? Is the person armed? I don't know if he's armed. He's just sitting in his car. Stay inside your house. Officers are on the way. I went inside and watched through the window. Derek didn't move. Just sat there in his car, staring at my house. 5 minutes later, a patrol car pulled up. The officer got out and approached Derek's car. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw Derek gesturing, arguing. The officer stayed calm, pointing at something, probably the restraining order. Finally, Derek drove off. The officer came to my door. Mr. Brennan, I'm Officer Williams. We've documented the violation. Your restraining order is active, and Mr. Phillips has been warned. If he comes back, call us immediately. Next time, he'll be arrested. Thank you. After the officer left, I checked my security cameras. They'd captured everything. Derek parking across the street, sitting there for 20 minutes before I got home, watching the house. I sent the footage to Paul. He called me 5 minutes later. This is perfect. He violated the order within 48 hours of it being issued. We're filing contempt charges tomorrow. Will that do anything? It'll get him in front of a judge, and if he's stupid enough to do it again, he'll go to jail. Friday. I tried to focus on work, tried to lose myself in drainage calculations and site surveys, but my phone kept buzzing with updates from Paul. Contempt motion filed. Richard's office called, wants to negotiate. Jessica's asking for another meeting with you. I told her no. Around 3, my boss called me into his office again. "Tom, sit." I sat. He looked uncomfortable. "I got another call today from a journalist, Angela Reed, from the Tribune. She wanted to know about your work here, your relationship with Jessica Blackwell, whether I'd ever witnessed any concerning behavior." My stomach dropped. "What did you tell her?" "I told her to go to hell." "But Tom, this is getting out of hand. I can't have reporters calling my office asking about my employees' personal lives." "I'm sorry. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again." "How are you going to do that?" "I'll talk to my lawyer. We'll send a cease and desist or something." He leaned back in his chair. "Look, I like you. You're good at your job. But I've got a business to run. If this circus continues, I'm going to have to consider whether keeping you on staff is worth the distraction." "Are you firing me?" "No. But I'm asking you to get this under control. Fast." I left his office feeling like the walls were closing in. That evening, I met Paul at a bar near his office, not my usual place, somewhere anonymous where we could talk without being overheard. "Richard's getting desperate," Paul said. "The contempt charges, the deposition transcript, the 2009 waiver, it's all adding up. They're going to lose." "Then why does it feel like I'm losing?" "Because you're taking fire. They're throwing everything they have at you, hoping something sticks. The journalist, the PI, Derek showing up at your house, it's all designed to make you crack, make you give up." "I'm not giving up." "Good, because we're about to turn the tables." "How?" Paul pulled out a folder. Inside were documents I didn't recognize. Financial statements, phone records, emails. "I've been digging," he said, "and I found something interesting. Derek Phillips isn't just Jessica's boyfriend. He's also her business partner." "What?" "They registered an LLC together 6 months ago. DP Ventures, filed with the state, business license, the whole thing. And guess where the startup capital came from?" "The $47,000. "Bingo. It wasn't loans. It was investment capital. They were planning to start a business together, cut you out completely, and use your money to do it." I stared at the documents. "What kind of business?" "Marketing consultancy, direct competitor to Richard's firm. They were going to poach his clients, start their own shop." "Does Richard know about this?" "I don't think so. If he did, he'd have shut it down immediately. Jessica's been lying to him too." "What do we do with this?" "We use it. File it with the court as evidence of dissipation and fraud. Show that Jessica wasn't just having an affair. She was actively planning to steal from you and betray her father." "When?" "Next week. I want to time it perfectly. Right before the settlement conference." I drank my beer and thought about Jessica. Thought about all the lies, all the careful planning, the sheer scope of her betrayal. "She's going to lose everything," I said. "Yes, she is." Saturday morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. "Unknown number," I answered. "Hello?" "Mr. Brennan, this is Angela Reed from the Tribune. We spoke briefly last week. I'd like to ask you some questions about Richard Blackwell and his firm's handling of your divorce case." "I'm not interested." "Mr. Brennan, I've been investigating Mr. Blackwell for months. I have sources who say he's used his position to intimidate clients, manipulate court filings, and engage in unethical conduct. Your case appears to fit that pattern. If you'd be willing to speak on record—" "No, leave me alone." I hung up. She called back. I blocked the number. 10 minutes later, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Angela Reed was standing on my porch with a notebook and a voice recorder. I didn't open the door. She knocked again. "Mr. Brennan, I just want to talk. 5 minutes." "I'm calling the police. I'm a journalist. I have a right to ask questions." "Not on my property, you don't." I called the police, told them a reporter was trespassing. They sent an officer. By the time he arrived, Angela was gone. But she left her business card wedged in my doorframe. I threw it in the trash. Sunday. I needed to get out of the house, away from the cameras and the lawyers and the constant feeling of being watched. I drove to Ricketts Glen, the state park where Jessica had suggested we go hiking. I went alone. The falls were beautiful, water cascading over ancient rock, mist rising in the sun. I hiked the trail slowly, listening to the sound of water and wind and nothing else. At the top of the trail, I sat on a boulder and looked out at the valley. Thought about the last 6 years, the marriage that had seemed solid and turned out to be hollow, the woman I'd loved who'd been planning to betray me almost from the start. My phone buzzed. Text from Paul. Richard wants to meet. Tuesday afternoon. Says he has a final offer. I texted back, should I go? Yes, but I'm coming with you. I sat there on the boulder for another hour, watching the sun move across the sky. Then I hiked back down and drove home. When I pulled into my driveway, there was an envelope taped to my front door. No postage, no return address, just my name written in neat script. I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper, a photocopy of a check. Made out to Derek Phillips, signed by Jessica, dated 3 months ago. Amount $15,000. And a handwritten note. Thought you'd want to see this. A friend. I took it inside and scanned it. Sent it to Paul. His reply came immediately. Where did you get this? Someone left it on my door. Any idea who? No. This is evidence of another transfer we didn't know about. Bring the original to my office tomorrow. I stared at the note. A friend. Who? Who was feeding me information about Jessica and Derek? I checked my security cameras, reviewed the footage from the last hour. At 2:47 p.m., a woman in a baseball cap and sunglasses had walked up to my door. She'd taped the envelope there and left. Never looked at the camera. Never showed her face. But something about her walk was familiar. I rewound the footage, watched it again, the way she moved, the tilt of her head. I knew her. I just couldn't place from where.